up everyone? My name is Mads and today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. It is super rainy and super gray outside and I wanted to film like a reading vlog thing. I've never done something like this before, so this might well be super weird and suck. But it's very rainy and the weather is really gross and I wanted to spend today reading, and I sat down and realized I didn't know what I wanted to read. And so several hours later I finally got off YouTube and I picked 5 books. Today I wanted to do like the chapter challenge where you read the first 2 chapters of a few books that you are interested in and decide what I'm reading and do a little bit of a reading vlog throughout this rainy day and I don't know, just kind of document it. It seemed really fun. So the books I have with me that I want to pick from today are, I have Warrior of the Wild by Trisha Levin. This is the author who wrote Daughter of the Pirate King, which was one of my favorite books, I believe, of 2017. I read it at the very end of 2017 and I loved it, and I have the second one. I haven't read it yet, but I really enjoyed it. From what I understand from the summary, this is about the daughter of the chief of a Viking clan who messes up. I'm not quite sure how she messes up, but she does. And he banishes her and gives her the impossible task of having to kill a god, I think, before she is allowed back in the village. And I love Trisha Levinseller's writing, and I love Vikings. I'm a medieval history major, so this was right up my alley, and I decided I needed it. But I've had it for a little while, and I really want to get to it. It seems something like I would really enjoy, so I figured that would be a good one to try today. I also have The Call by Pedro Gillen. This is probably one of the most loved fairy books of all time. This is an Irish author. These are supposedly very accurate, very good, very evil fairies, and people who have to escape them. I tried to stay vague on this. I didn't want to know too much about it going into it, but I have so many people who love it in my life, like so many people. So this is another one. I think I read the first few pages of it and it was the wrong time and I put it back and have never picked it up again. The next book that I have on my list is one that I actually just got in my Beacon book box, and that is Romanov by Nadine Brandes. This is very hyped. It is an Anastasia retelling. I was a Russian student for a while, so this is pretty cool, but it's about the lost Russian princess Anastasia and I think magic. And it's blurbed by a couple of really good authors. I've seen a lot of really positive, really glowing reviews on Goodreads so far, and I just got the Beacon book box. It looked really exciting, so I kind of want to try to read a book that I got in a book box in any kind of timely manner. I think the only one that I've done so far is Even the Darkest Stars by Heather Fawcett, which I did really enjoy. I read it around Christmas time, but this is one I want to get to a little bit faster and possibly review. The next one that I have to pick from is probably one of the most hyped releases of all time, and that is Aurora Rising by Amie Kaufman and Kristoff. This is the duo who wrote the Illuminate File series, which I have not finished yet, but definitely loved what I have read. And it is a new sci-fi series about a girl who comes out of a black hole. It looks incredible. It has really high ratings so far on Goodreads, although I don't know if those are just people rating it before it comes out or what, but so far I've heard nothing but positive things about it and want to read and review this one soon as well. And the last one that I have is a book that I got in a fairy loot box, I want to say in like December or something, like a really long time ago. And hi! Alright, kitty cat. Hi! No, I'm not giving you attention. It's a book I haven't actually heard much about or seen any reviews of, but looks incredible, and that is Circle of Shadows by Evelyn. Skye. She wrote the Crown's Game trilogy, I think, that was very well hyped a couple of years ago on BookTube, and this is a Japanese-inspired fantasy about people who are marked by the gods who have to infiltrate like a secret society, I think. I'm not quite sure, but it looks amazing also, and again, I really want to read it, so this is my pile. This is why I've had a hard time choosing what to read so far, and hopefully today I will get through at least one of them. Okay, so I have got a big cup of tea now. Too hot, so I'm gonna wait, but I have some tea. I think I'm going to start first with Aurora Rising because it's the newest and the biggest, and like I think the hype's kind of gotten to me. So I'm gonna read the first, I believe, I'm gonna do 30 pages, or like whatever, like the closest chapter is to 30 pages, so maybe like 2 or 3 chapters of each book. It looks like I'll get through 2 chapters of this one, and then I will move on to the next one, and I will keep up with my progress as I go along. Okay, so I kind of failed a little bit. I said I was going to read the first 30 pages of all of these books because that usually gets you through like 2 chapters and you can go really fast. And I actually read to page 56 of Aurora Rising because it's really good. A lot has already happened. I don't know why I expected anything different from the people who brought us Illuminae. It's really interesting. I love the aliens. That's what I wrote on my bookmark so far. I use these bookmarks that have, like, you can do notes on them and stuff. But so far I wrote cool aliens because I love it. It feels a lot like Star Trek, which makes me really happy. The way that like everybody's interacting and the way the base works, it feels a lot like Starfleet. It definitely feels different than Illuminae, which is cool because it's also sci-fi, and I was kind of worried that it would feel a lot like Illuminae. There's definitely similarities, like they've kind of already talked about big corporations and things like that, but so far this feels more like a Star Trek-esque story, and I kind of hope it is because I love Star Trek. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of thinking I might not read the first 30 pages of all of these, which is like bad or whatever. I'll probably read the first chapter, like prologue and first chapter of all of them, but I'm like really into Aurora Rising, so now I kind of just want to read that. But that's not the fun of the challenge. That's not how the challenge works. So I think the next one I'm going to do is Romanov. I think the next one I'm going to do is Romanov, and see how that one goes. I think it's actually from Anastasia's perspective, so I'll try to do the first like chapter or 2 of this book as well, and then see where I go from there. Alright, so I read through the first chapter of Romanov, which is about 20 pages, and I really like this one too. I'm really interested in it. I love the way that she's incorporating Russian culture and Russian folklore. She's talking about a lot of popular authors from the time. Anastasia is a really interesting character, or Nastya as she's said in the book. As somebody who like studied Russian, like that was my foreign language for 2 years in college, it's really weird to see anglicized Russian, like Russian in Latin letters, but I really like the way that she's going between the languages and kind of making the atmosphere feel very Russian. Like I think that she's doing a really good job with that. It's also not rainy anymore. It's sunny, but the mood is still here. I'm still enjoying the afternoon reading, so I'm fine with that. Yeah, I like this one so far too. I think I still might go back to Aurora Rising, but like this is definitely a pretty close contender. I think the next one I'm gonna try to go for is Circle of Shadows by Evelyn Skye. Now that I've read those first 2, I'm really feeling one of those 2. Like I really want to go back to them, but I do want to finish my challenge that I gave to myself, so I'm going to go for this one next. Also, this is the Fairy Loot edition, and they have this really pretty purpley gray on the pages. It does not change the book at all, but it's very beautiful, and I like it so far. It looks like they have something called Geminas, and they haven't really explained it, how they're different, but like to me, my instant thought is Parabatai, like from Mortal Instruments. Just interested. I don't know like what the lore around it is in this book, but like that was just my first thought. I was like, ah, it's her Parabatai. Okay, so it's like, I don't know, like 10 seconds later, I just finished chapter 1. This one was shorter. It was like 15 pages long, and the type was kind of big. This one is not immediately gripping me. I'll explain more. I think I'm going to do like a little mini wrap-up at the end when I've kind of figured out what I want to continue and what I want to read. But this one is feeling kind of info dumpy right now. Like, I only read chapter 1, and it was only 15 pages, but we've already gotten like a page about how the world works and a page about like recent history of like a war leading up to this, and mythology, and the main character's backstory, and I don't know, it's a little bit heavy-handed so far. I don't know. It's not grabbing me the way the other two are. I considered continuing on to another chapter to like see if that writes itself, but it's just not gripping me immediately. So so far it's good. I think the writing is good. I just think that like it has a slow beginning. Like the first chapter is not, it's not as gripping as the others. So I'm going to go to the next book. Oh, this is like a random thing, but I got this book in the Fairy Loot box, and look how cute the art is though of the two main characters. I don't know if I'm holding this right, but this is really pretty. I love the art style here. Fairy Loot, I think, has the best art. Like they have the best artist hired for all of the book boxes that I've seen. I love the Fairy Loot artist. I don't know who the artist is. I'm sure they said like on the card when they sent the box out, but this is kind of an older box and I don't remember, so. But I love that artist, whoever did that. You are fantastic. So I think the next one I'm going to read is The Call by Pedro Gillen. But first I need to refill my tea because I have already drank it all. So I will be right back in a moment. Alright, so it is a little bit later. I did my dishes to give myself a break and made myself another cup of tea. And actually read, I think, to chapter 3 of The Call. I think the first chapter I read was just like a preface. Yeah. So the first chapter I read was a preface, and so I read like that and 2 chapters in. This book is amazing. It's also the prettiest cover. I don't know if you can see it because of the lighting, but it's the prettiest cover without a dust jacket on. Again, does not affect the book at all. Something that I think is really cool about this book is that, especially in YA, there's a lot of fairies that are very Americanized, but fairies are predominantly from like Irish folklore, and this is an Irish author. Basically, the Fae have cut Ireland off from the rest of the world to take revenge on the Irish for driving them under the mound, whatever that means. They're basically targeting all of the teenagers. So one at a time, and you don't know when it's going to happen. It just happens entirely at random. They call a teenager, which means they bring them out of the human world and into the fairy world. It's only 3 minutes and 4 seconds human time, but it's a whole day fairy time, and you have to basically survive for the full day to come back to the human world. And most people come back changed in some way, or insane, or dead. And our main character got polio as a child, so she is disabled. Her legs function, but not properly, and so she is trying to train as much as she can to survive her call whenever it comes. And so I don't know what has happened so far. We've seen a couple of people come back from it, not necessarily well. It's kind of creepy. It's kind of terrifying. This is a really interesting take on the Fae. I really like I think a lot of people think of Sarah J. Maas when they think of the Fae, but Holly Black is probably the closest that I've read in young adult that like understands the mythology and who the creatures are, and so this is really cool to read, and I really loved it. The writing is great. The main character is awesome. I love her best friend as well. You've gotten a good sense of her life so far. So I'm really intrigued by this one. And last but not least, it's time for Warrior of the Wild by Trisha Levin Seller. Slide that off, stick it in my big pile of book jackets, and I will check back in 1 chapter from now. Alright, so I am officially that's backwards. I am officially a full chapter in to Warrior of the Wild. And it's interesting. Sorry about the light. I know it's much more orange because it's mostly lit by my lamp now. This is interesting. I don't know how I feel about it. I think in my head I'm comparing it a lot to Skye in the Deep by Adrienne Young, which I read last year. It was one of my favorite books last year and really quickly became one of my favorite fantasy books, like, of all time. And like, this one is good. This is like a weird thing to complain about, but this is like obviously a book about Vikings, and it's a little bit of a fantasy thing, but like the names feel a little bit weird. Like, I don't feel like Vikings would be named this. it seems almost a little bit like a different culture, so the atmosphere in the book is kind of weird. And that's not like me speaking as a history major, that's just like me speaking from stuff that you read in like other Viking books. So the like kind of culture is kind of strange, and I'm not really sure if this is fantasy or like what's going on with it. But I do like it. I love Trisha Levinseller's writing, and I think it's really engaging and fun, so that's cool. I'm definitely interested enough to want to continue. Like, there's some interesting conflict that's happening here that I really, it's choice. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on the first chapter. And now it is time for my final thoughts, I guess, for the rest of the day. So here in my lap are the 5 books that I did the chapter test on. Of them, I think the only one that didn't grip me or like really interest me right away was Circle of Shadows by Evelyn Skye. I feel like compared to all of the others, especially, this book was much more info dumpy. Like, in 15 pages, I already know way more about the world and everything than like I feel like I really need to at this point in the story to understand what's going on. I feel like the information is not being revealed to the reader like in a natural way. Like, it's kind of just like, okay, here's information. A couple paragraphs of plot. Okay, here's more information. Like, it feels a little bit forced, and it's not grabbing me immediately. The next one is Warrior of the Wild. I really like it. I like the writing. So far, I really like the main character, and I'm suspicious of the best friend, Torin. I don't know how I feel about him yet. He kind of, like, she's hinting that he is a little bit shady. I don't know. I'm definitely more engaged with these characters, and I'm really interested in where this is going to go. But I think there are other books that I read today that grabbed my attention a little bit more, so this one's a little bit lower on my priorities. I feel like the next one on my list is actually Romanov, like my middle ground book, because I love the Russian culture and I love the atmosphere, but none of the plot has really thickened yet. Like, I did read, let's see, I read to page 23, and things have happened, but like, I still don't know where the story is going. So there's some mystery, there's some intrigue, but I don't know where it's going yet. I don't know where it's heading, but I definitely want to continue, especially like this week. I want to keep going with this book. And the next one is The Call by Pedro Gillen. This has already kicked off. There's a lot of horror and mystery and intrigue, and I love the main character. I love her best friend. I'm really engaged with these people and what's happening to them, so I really want to continue on with this one. But for right now, I think the book I'm going to stick with, the book I'm going to read tonight and try to finish probably tomorrow, is Aurora Rising by Amie Kaufman and Kristoff. I'm so feeling the Star Trek vibes. It's so good. I love it so much. Oh, by the way, if you hear a noise in the background, that's my dishwasher. I don't really know if it's picking up in the microphone, but like, I figured I'd mention it. But I am so feeling this book right now. Like, it's funny. All of the characters are witty. They all feel like different people. Like, they're all distinct, but they have enough of like a cohesion that I can see how they're going to interact with each other. There's a little bit of tension. There's some really interesting suspense being set up with the plot. So I think I want to continue with this one right now. So I think what I'm kind of interested in doing is continuing and doing like a reading vlog for this week as I make my way through some of these books and kind of document my thoughts on them. Just because like there's a lot of reviews that I have planned that I want to post, but I don't know how much time I'm going to have. I'm actually leaving for a study abroad trip in exactly 2 weeks, and so I don't want to try to cram so many videos in such a short period of time. So I think it would be really fun to make a reading vlog. I know those are really popular right now. I don't really know what I'm doing. I think I would really like to document my experience reading these books and getting ready to leave, and just that last week of fun. It sounds really nice. So if that is something that sounds engaging, let me know, I guess. Thank you guys so much for watching me pick out books on this rainy day. I had a really good time filming this. This is a much more creative video than I've tried to do before. I know I don't post very much on this channel, but I film a lot of stuff and then don't like it and put it away. So thank you guys so much for watching me and for reading alongside me and listening to me ramble about books that I have no idea where the plots are going for this, however long this video is. And I will be back with a new video soon. Thank you so much for watching.